Treason and Sedition. Recently, a group of Democratic elected leaders got together and posted a public service announcement that told the military that they should not execute illegal orders given by Donald Trump. And that has caused the MAGA ecosphere to go haywire, calling this public service announcement treason and sedition. What I'm going to do today is explain to you why it is not treason or sedition. First of all, treason and sedition both involve doing something, not refraining from doing something. Following orders that the military lawyers assert as illegal exposes our military to legal action because they do not enjoy the immunity SCOTUS granted precedents. So remember that when military are performing their functions, if they do something illegal according to the military law or according to the Constitution, they are held accountable because they don't enjoy immunity. And treason and sedition requires doing something, not refraining from doing something. Now, there's this misconception or this commonality in how our society looks at the President of the United States. And this commonplace saying that, hey, if you don't follow the orders of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, you, military service members, are going to be committing treason and sedition, when that is not the truth at all. The President is not always the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1, the President shall be Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of several states when called into actual service of the United States. That last phrase is important. When called into actual service. The President is not the commander of the U.S. military in times of peace. He is the first citizen and America's chief representative to the world. He is also one who executes the laws that Congress passes. He assumes Congress's power to declare war only when Congress gives the President permission. And when U.S. forces are in combat or warlike scenarios, the President becomes the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. While that nomenclature is used commonly to refer to presidents, they are not always the Commander-in-Chief of the military. Congress is the branch that has the power to raise armies and declare war. Donald Trump and MAGA think that defiance of Donald Trump's regime is treason and sedition. But that's not the law. The law requires that treasonous and seditious actions take place against the government of the United States and the Constitution to qualify as treason or sedition. The DOJ did find those instances when prosecuting participants of January 6, 2021's seditious plot against the United States Congress and Constitution. They were prosecuted and juries found them guilty of seditious conspiracy. But Donald Trump pardoned them for their crimes against our republic. It does not make them innocent. They are pardoned, convicted seditionists. What a dystopian statement. Pardoned, convicted seditionist. Pardoned by the same man and regime that now calls elected leaders seditionists and traitors who are standing up and resisting his brutal regime. The same man who incited these people to attack Congress and stop the counting of the electoral votes is now calling elected leaders who are notifying the armed services of their limits as committing sedition and treason, which is completely outlandish and completely idiotic. Threatening others with treason or sedition when you are the gravest threat to American democracy since the Civil War is top-notch projection. In fact, Donald's whole propaganda campaign is a massive exercise in projection. Everything MAGA does and Donald does that is bad, shameful, or scandalous are all Democrats' fault. Democrats are the crooks, Democrats are the criminals, Democrats are the wackos. Press is the enemy of the people. Don't believe your lying eyes. Listen to me. That's Donald Trump's mantra. And astoundingly, it works on millions of people. It is the biggest personality cult in the history of humanity if you exclude organized religion. And it's funded by the richest people in the country, including the richest man in the world, thereby showing how white supremacy and male patriarchy wins the day again. However, the rest of the country, staring back at the embarrassing collection of revisionist and subversive superior white men, see America completely differently. Here, laws are created through a process, and when they become law enforcement are required to investigate and prosecute where needed. The rest of the country still believes in the rule of law, the power of the courts to say what the law is, and the executive's requirement to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, not flagrantly ignored and then ruled by executive order loosely tied to laws that the regime believes applies to the situation when it really doesn't. Like Donald Trump's error in applying IEEPA to tariff foreign countries when IEEPA does not give you the power to tariff. Like Donald Trump picking the wrong law to deploy National Guard to the various states. Like defying constitutional norms both in the context of separation of powers, checks and balances, states' rights, and also in how individual constitutional rights are being violated by federal agents under the guise of immigration enforcement, drug addiction enforcement, mentally ill and homeless relocation, Antifa propaganda against peaceful protesters to create the premise an environment for violence should even a spark go off, should even one person throw a punch. And that would give Donald Trump the excuse to invoke the Insurrection Act and deploy the military to carry out law enforcement functions. Remember, everything we feared would happen has already happened or is happening. So Donald's buildup to a police state and then deployment of the military under the Insurrection Act cannot be ruled out. In fact, we should plan for it and prepare for it. Build community and methods to combat federal overreach and tyranny. Whether whistles to notify others of ICE presence or putting up signs where ICE has abducted people, stay safe, but let your voices be heard by federal agents and military personnel who are ordered by Donald to invade civilian life. This is why it's so important to remind our military service members that they have an obligation to refuse to carry illegal orders. It is not treason or sedition. It is the First Amendment, and it is education for those involved. It is for clarity and the truth about how service members are not compelled to carry out orders they were sure were legally or morally deficient. But it does say a lot about a regime that threatens treason and sedition against elected leaders standing up, telling us the truth, and leading. Something they were elected to do, something that Donald Trump was elected to do. To take your oath to the Constitution seriously. If orders are given that violate the Constitution or laws stemming from the Constitution, you are violating the law. That does not compromise your oath, it strengthens it. and strengthens the primacy of the rule of law. Finally, remember that the people did commit sedition during our lifetimes. They are the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. They were convicted by a jury of their peers. They were pardoned by Donald Trump. They are Donald Trump's stand back and stand by army. Stuart Rhodes is recruiting people to his cause again. So is Tario and other far-right extremist groups that were present and violent on January 6, 2021. No amount of revisionism, no amount of false narratives will change the truth about that day. So when Donald's regime comes at us with sedition and treason, remind them of this history that will never go away when Donald Trump attacked the United States and our Constitution in an effort to upend the rule of law and get in the way of a peaceful transfer of power when he lost in 2020 by over 7 million votes. With that said, keep your eye out. Please like, share, and subscribe. Remember to share this information because it needs to get out there and people needs to be aware of what is going on so they're not caught off guard. With that said, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.